Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Lett. Welcome to I'm Dr. Lett, the podcast. Now, listen, I always am in awe of the interview guests that take time out of their busy day to spend a moment describing their impact within their community, how awesome they are. And this is really my gift to all of you. So, without further ado, another amazing guest, Belle. She's going to talk about her impact within her community, and there are going to be several gems and takeaways for all of you. Without further ado, Belle, please introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Bella Espinal. I have a nonprofit called Reclaim Our Wealth that became a nonprofit July 2025. So we're celebrating 1 full year in a couple of weeks. And then I have a consulting practice called Consult Espinal. And I also am a PhD student. So I have a lot going on, and my PhD studies will focus on women of color leaders in Cleveland. And I'm at a point now as I deepen my research and I deepen my studies, it actually might be a comparison between an East Side city and or East Side neighborhood and a West Side neighborhood, and a comparison of the community economic development funds that go into those neighborhoods.
Thank you so much for that. And yes, you are busy. And I know that we're going to get into this of it, but you're all over the place, either physically or your name is shared everywhere. With that, tell us about your nonprofit.
That means so much, Dr. Lett. My nonprofit. So we'll get into this a little bit later, but there were some things that happened in Cleveland that really shook me as a young professional aspiring to senior levels of leadership between 2022 and 2025. And I wanted to do something. I didn't want to just talk about something. I wanted to create something. So I first created Sisters of Economic Action, which is a woman of color professional association focused on financial empowerment. And then with the change in leadership across the country, I thought I needed to create something that was less racialized, less gendered. And I decided to create Reclaim Our Wealth, which is really more focused on financial empowerment for underserved communities. And also it brings in with my teacher background. So I was a former educator, and I wanted to do more in terms of creating cohorts and creating curriculum and bringing together people around education topics that I think are important for communities to know that necessarily aren't always taught in public school education, sometimes not even taught in college. So Reclaim Our Wealth right now is really focused on financial empowerment. And this season, in between August and October, we'll have 2 cohorts. One will be Diasporic Wealth, which is focused on people who make under 45K, a financial empowerment cohort with a small stipend attached to it, and not a nonprofit technical assistance program. As I've grown as a nonprofit throughout this year, but it's obviously been an effort longer than that, I've noticed that a lot of us have a revenue under 15K, and a lot of us are self-funding. Therefore, we need programs and opportunities to understand how we really scale. So this nonprofit technical assistance program, starting in August, will focus on branding, a strategic plan, fundraising, and kind of an assessment of terms of where you are as a nonprofit currently. So we have some exciting things coming up this season.
I absolutely love that. I cannot state that enough. Now, your nonprofit, and really a lot of the work that you're doing on the ground, it focuses and centers the Cleveland region. Why Cleveland, and why now?
Well, I think like many other liberals and people who have more left politics, we come from like local is the difference. Local libraries, local schools, local education, local leaders, local government, all of those things are values that I hold deep within me. And so I currently live in Cleveland. So I'm here to make Cleveland a better place. I'm here to make Greater Cleveland a better place. And I want to do that by, mentioned like, oh, people, you're all over, or people know you all over. And the point was that I've been really intentional about networking during my years here. I've been here for 5 years, and I knew I wanted to do big work. I knew I wanted to be somebody. And to do that, you need a lot of collaborators, a lot of friends, a lot of supporters, and a lot of allies. I mean, we can get into the conversation of mentorship versus sponsorship, but we need people to know our names if we want to navigate the waters. It is tricky to get funding. It is tricky to ascend whatever ladder you're trying to ascend. And Cleveland does have its issues with Black female leadership leaving and quitting, or Black female leadership being left out of the conversation. If you look at the last 5 years, you can definitely see a few leaders, senior leaders, who were either let go or quietly terminated, or felt like they just needed to leave because there was a glass ceiling. I know for myself, there was a glass ceiling at many of my positions, and I got tired of that. So I just started to create my own thing. And I'm loving this side of the world where you can kind of create your own time, create your own schedule, and make the impact that you want to.
Yes, thank you so much for that. Now, as a mentor that is focused on translating academic insights into practical strategies, really to strengthen local communities and support underrepresented entrepreneurs, what drives you to pour into the local community?
It starts with, I grew up in New York City public schools, graduated from a New York public studies school. I'm Latina, I'm Afro-Latina, and I knew nothing about why. I didn't understand my identity. I was always like, who am I? What does this mean? And then I got a full ride to Oberlin College, a very elite private liberal arts. I heard it's like $90,000 a year right now, which is really, that's killer. That's like a medical school bill. So why do I say that? Because it wasn't until I started taking Latino history courses, Black studies courses, that I realized that there was a whole other canon of literature that I could have been reading about that could help me understand who I was. I think I read like The House on Mango Street, maybe in 11th grade, and I didn't connect with that, but that was my one and only opportunity to understand my identity. So when I got to college, I was like, this is crazy that this is not accessible to people. Like, there are other high school students who will never come to Oberlin College. Are they getting this in state schools? Are they getting this in vocational schools? My suspicion was that probably most people are not, unless they're looking for it on their own time. So what my job and my aspiration is to take what I get with this PhD, the research that I get. I mean, already in my budget for my dissertation, which is, years away, there's a significant chunk that goes specifically to paying participants who participate in my research. And another big chunk, another line item, is doing a skill share where I take the information that I've learned throughout my research and share it with people and have a nice big party. We all love parties and festivities where we can get together. And I just hope to be a translator of academic literature. I hope to be a thread between what we're reading in academia and what people know about in the streets, in the world. And then furthermore, I think as a translator, I really want to welcome people into academia. I think that people think that it's really hard to read, but you can read it if you take time. And there's so much information that's happening there that doesn't happen in practice. You talked about my travels. And when I was abroad, what I was really impressed by was that so many people are actually doing research-based practice. I don't know if in the US we do as often research-based practice. I think we do have a lot of practice, and then there's a lot of research, but those two don't connect as often as I would like. So I was very inspired by that and hope to model that in the work that I do.
Wow, that's incredibly insightful, and something that, now that I go back to my doctoral study and the research that I've done, research-based practice, it's interesting to think about that and how there's a plethora of research on, pick a topic, mentorship, sponsorship, relational mentoring. But is that actually being applied in meaningful ways? So that was a very interesting thing that you mentioned. Let me get this next statement preceding the question correct. Your doctoral study, it focuses on how women of color and how they shape community economic development, centering their voices, leadership barriers, definitions of success for women of color. Now, how have you incorporated your professional expertise into your doctoral studies?
I wouldn't have this question if I hadn't been moving and shaking in Cleveland economic development spaces. This question comes out of seeing the turnover of CDC leaders. It comes as a result of seeing economic development and community development directors being let go of their positions. And I think it also, comes at in the context of like what the current median income is in Cleveland. All those questions all come together to create the question of like what is happening in the community economic development ecosystem for women of color leaders, because many people have ascended the ladder and they do get into these senior levels of leadership, but how do they self-define success when they're up against median incomes that are so low, or when they're up against, the challenges that come with funding and fundraising and the ebbs and flows of fundraising. So I was really curious of like, how are these leaders then defining success despite the challenges, despite the barriers? There has to be more to how you define your work and what keeps you going if there's so many challenges. So that's where the question stems from. I also was interested, and currently where we're at right now is that I'm going to take two neighborhoods. It's probably going to be Mount Pleasant and Clark Fulton, and learn how community economic development leaders are funding those neighborhoods and what's happening. So I'm actually excited for a different type of study where there will be lots of women of color leaders in that research, but I'm excited to think about these neighborhoods because there is a difference between the West Side and the East Side. There's a lot of money going into Clark Fulton right now, whether it's through transit oriented, I forgot the word, infrastructure maybe, and then Mount Pleasant that's gotten some Southeast side dollars, but I would say that there's little comparison in terms of the funding that's being accessible in those communities. And I'm excited to uncover what happens with these neighborhoods and what's the success rate and have margins moved for these communities.
Wow. Something you mentioned that was incredibly insightful and that I probably should add to all of my interview questions for my amazing guests is that how would they define success? I interview amazing people doing amazing things in their community, and success can look different for everyone.
Mhm.
I love that you highlighted that and how for some it may be pay, title, uplifting others. But let me know what y'all think. Is that something that you think I should ask all the amazing guests that I interview? Now, Belle, please tell us what has been the most interesting finding from your research thus far?
So there have been some major institutions that have been built on the backs of Black women. We know this. And I still need to do further research before I name them because it's just through one source. So there are some institutions in University Circle that were specifically built by Black women. And then when they were no longer needed, they were taken out of their leadership position that they had already started. And I mean, that's not news to anyone, right? It happens oftentimes. But it was incredible to see that's part of University Circle's history as well. And it's such an affluent neighborhood that continues to sprawl and push out neighborhoods and push out people who do not have the same income brackets as University Circle itself. So I think that was one thing I'm living in 2026. I was born in 1995. So I'm thinking things are happening in the last 100 years, not contextualizing how much further back this legacy of stealing from people goes. And that hurt me to read, right? That this already goes back further. So there's more research to be done, but hearing about the stories of women who had visions, created their visions, and then their visions were taken away. I think those are the types of stories that always really stick with me and make me want to understand like what compels someone to push someone out of power after they've begun such an amazing, project.
Wow. Incredible. And I cannot wait. And you and I have talked offline. I cannot wait to read your research findings. So please share that with the world. And now this moment is one where I'm excited to give you your flowers. And often, that whether it's online, whether we're messaging, I'm just always trying to support everything that you're doing because I understand how important your research, your day-to-day work, your grind is to so many people. As an inspiration to women everywhere, describe the moment you knew you were built to lead these initiatives and center women of color.
The moment that I knew, I grew up with such a varied background, right? Like I had this great grandmother who was a white woman from the Depression. I had this Puerto Rican mom who was a single mom. I had this immigrant dad from Dominican Republic. So I've always felt like a amalgamation of a lot of different identities. And therefore, I've also been able to navigate a lot of different spaces. I can feel very comfortable in a Spanish-speaking environment, in a very white and wealthy environment. And I think that type of mixed identity makes for a very strong person who can navigate a lot of different environments. And therefore, I mean, for all intents and purposes, often I'm very extractive. I'm trying to pull what I can out of these spaces to create what I envision, because I see a lot of things through what I can create. I'm not someone who thinks about like, oh, I wish this would happen, or I'd love to see this thing happen. I'm more like, okay, let me find some friends who want to do this with me, and let me find some partners. And if all those fall through, then I'm just going to figure out a way to do it myself. So I don't necessarily think that I am the chosen one, or I don't think I'm the one who's going to lead us all to freedom and wealth. But I do believe that I'm someone who can create opportunities that don't currently exist in 2026. And I would love to get more help. I would love to work with more people, to collaborate, to take these things to the next level. You heard the 3 things that I do. I'm a PhD student. I have a nonprofit. I have a consulting practice. There's no way everything that I want to get done or everything that I envision to get done happens. And it doesn't also happen to the caliber that I would like it to get done. So that's a limitation that I have. But because I have so much that I'm working on and so many things that I'm like thinking through, I just try my best with what I can do and the interns that I have. I love the interns that I have. I'm very grateful for the interns that I have, but that's it. Like, it's really a team of one. I have a board, and now I just brought on someone who can be my chief strategist, but it's really a small team. And for 99% of the time that we've been in existence, it's really just been me holding everything. So the vision is that I'll have a larger team and that we can do more things with a lot of people. I'm also looking at buying a building this year that is an event center and also a workforce development training center. So I don't think I'm the one with all the answers, but I do know how to make things happen. And I always hope, and I hope that what people know about me is that I'd rather bring people in than push people out. And so I'm always looking for collaboration.
I absolutely love that. Now, I have to give you a little bit of grief because you mentioned your limitations, and I thought to myself, you sound exactly like a doc student. So yes, there's that. Now, switching gears a bit, you often lead conversations aimed at strategic partnership, as you just mentioned, collaborating, stakeholder engagement. What are a few of the mistakes people make while trying to turn insights into action?
I think that I've seen some people run on emotion, and I think that can really be a limitation. This person really pissed me off, or I love this person and now I have to work with them, or I can't work with this person. And I think that in the business world, there has to be some level of distance from whatever you're focused on, because you have to be able to see it from all angles. And and you also have to see like who are going to be strategic partnerships, and those strategic partnerships and alliances might not look like you, might not sound like you, might not be in your neighborhood, or they might, but they might have different personalities than you, and they're really challenging to deal with. So when you're dealing with strategic partnerships, you're dealing with the full person, with their strengths, with their weaknesses, with their limitations, with their communication style. So where I like to move is that I need to develop myself as a leader so that I can be best equipped to deal with whomever, but I also need to think strategically about who I partner with and remove myself from their mannerisms, because those mannerisms are just personality traits in some regard. And those, I don't think judging people based on personality is the right way to do things. I think the right way to do things, to move things the most, is by actually distancing yourself from that person or from that action and thinking about what they can bring and what value add they have. I've been working on that as well myself, because there's a fine line between being fake and being honest and real. And I'm still figuring that out for myself. I think for many years in Cleveland, I just wanted all the friends and all the partners and all of this. And I disregarded how people treated me or what they said or how they did or did not engage me. So I think as I continue to grow, I'm going to continue to evolve that. But I do really believe that you can't really look at someone's actions. You have to really look at them as a holistic person, what role they can play, and partner with them on that level rather than on the level of how they make you feel per se.
Wow, incredible. And I'll admit, even for myself, no matter what season or phase of life I've gone through, I had to constantly just reevaluate myself and say, am I being true to myself in this season? And it's just a continuous thing that I constantly go through. So I can understand and I appreciate the vulnerability and sharing that, because that's not something that many people may feel comfortable to share aloud. And with that, you are being incredibly humble. You are winning awards. You're being named in articles. Someone that the community is uplifting. I want to congratulate you and all of the viewers out there. We are all going to congratulate you on being awarded the 2026 Spark Award by the Better Business Bureau. To any little girl out there watching you, what advice would you give them?
That almost made me like cry a little bit. I don't know why. I knew it was coming. To the little girl, oh my gosh. Figure out who you are and what you love, and stick with that. If you are a ballerina, if you are a skateboarder, if you are an academic, if you are a painter, stick with that craft and try and grow it as much as possible. Tell your parents you want to find free resources. Tell your parents you want to travel for the summer to go to this skateboarding camp or whatever. It's 2026. Everyone has phones and tablets and everything. Like, once you hit kind of 6, it's your game now, baby. Like, you got to get it out there and get yours. Parents can be stressed and at capacity and can only do what they can do. So your nudge to your parent of what you aspire towards is really important and helpful. And I would say stick with that. Don't let anyone tell you you're going to be a struggling artist or you'll never make it. I mean, think about Lila Edwards. Lila Edwards came right here from Cleveland Heights. She probably had to do a lot of different things to get to be an Olympian gold medalist. And those are people who are coming out of our neighborhoods, who are coming from greater Cleveland. I'm sure she told her parents, I have to go to this camp. We have to figure it out. I have to go there. And I have to go to Europe this summer, or whatever it was. Like, she had to keep fighting and fighting and fighting. And, while I'm no Lila Edwards, I do aspire to be a Lila Edwards in my arena. And it's through pushing and perseverance of keep trying to get to the top. I've amidst all those wonderful accolades and things, I've gotten tons of no's. And I'm like, I want to do things on a global stage and I want to do this. So it comes in waves. I think that sometimes when you're no longer a little girl and you're an older girl and you're a young woman, you can start looking at your percentage of success, and that can help you understand like kind of how things happen. So if you apply to 10 programs and you get into one, so you have a 10% close rate, think about it like that. That can help remove you from the pain of the no's, because the no's will happen too. And at this point, I just play a numbers game. I just, as many things as I see as an opportunity that kind of align with what I'm doing, I'll apply. I'm developing an app right now, and we applied to 2 software accelerator programs, and we got rejected from both. And we're like, this is a great idea. We're going to figure it out. And so instead, we're going to Black Tech Week, and we're going to pitch our ideas in Cincinnati in the middle of July. So I think that even with no's, continue pushing forth so you can see what else is available, because there's something more than you can create. You can always create. You have these 2 hands, you have these 2 feet, you have this brain. Like, continue creating. And don't let rejection stop you. And if rejection does stop you, then work on that, because then that's going to limit you for as long as you let it limit you. So I think, always being in conversation with yourself of like, what can I push through? What do I need to push through? What do I need to work on? And where do I need help so that I can push through whatever is a limit that I have?
Yes. And for anyone out there, every one of my guests, they are so amazing in a multitude of different ways. But I'll be honest, I've had many no's. I've had guests that, for whatever reason, scheduling conflicts, maybe there's alignment that just we can't figure out how to make this work, which is why for all of the guests that agree to be interviewed and share their story and how awesome they are, I will forever be grateful, because time arguably is our greatest asset. And they give that to me, and I'm able to give that to you. So I cannot thank all of my guests enough for that. Now, with that, Belle, you are in your own right a hero and inspiration. So amazing. Finish this sentence for me. Closing out 2026 and in 2027, Belle's community impact will be what?
A workforce development center, a 98% fully funded community economic development exchange program, and, significant progress on my dissertation. But those will be the top 2.
Yes. Love it. Absolutely love it. This interview has been insightful. You've inspired me, so I know you've inspired someone watching this. Now, please tell us what takeaways from this interview should viewers leave with?
I think what I was saying a few questions ago, just in terms of like keeping pushing forward through your limitations, identify your limitations, identify what holds you back from reaching success, from growing to the person that you want to become. Identify those and get help with that specific issue. There are coaches, there are therapists, there are hypnotists that can work with you. Whatever it is that you're into, find help for that, because that problem is going to find you wherever you are with whatever you do. If you're the cashier, if you're the boss, if you're the visionary, find that problem and work through that. And then you have this mind, you have these hands. Like, there's nothing that's impossible to do. You can start with a little program here, a little garden here, a rose bush, and let those things grow over time. And maybe ask your neighbor if you can pluck garden in their land too, if you don't have any additional land. Like, you can be creative. There's not just one way to do things, and there's not just one solution to every problem. There's a lot of different innovation that can happen. And I think some of our greatest leaders and heroes are very creative, and they've figured out ways when they got to know how to go around the no, who else to talk to, what else to create. So I would really emphasize that type of perseverance will get you really far. And I think that Cleveland does appreciate people who keep pushing.
Incredible. And we could not end this interview on a better note if we tried. Belle, it has been an honor, a pleasure. Again, you inspired me and someone else watching this interview. For anyone that will be interested in partnering, collaborating, supporting you in any way, how can they connect with you?
Yeah, LinkedIn is an easy way. Bella Espinal on LinkedIn. I think I'm the only one in Cleveland. And then my email is also available. Ask me, ASKE, at consult, CONSULTESPINAL. So ask me at consult Espinal, my last name. You can see it there. And then, I'll be outside. So holla at your girl. I would love to. I really enjoy collaboration. I really enjoy working with someone else's skill set. So I'd be open to the conversation with anyone and whomever.
And when Belle says that she loves collaborating and to reach out, her and I connected. It's been a few months now. Goodness, time does fly. And we just wanted to know, are there ways that we could collaborate? And here we are, fast forward. You never know. This interview wasn't even the focus of the discussion, but you never know where one message may take you when it comes to changing the world. So please reach out. I'm Dr. Lett. This has been an honor. The podcast, I'm Dr. Lett. Belle, thank you so much.
Have a good afternoon. Bye-bye.